How's it going, everybody? Welcome back, THK Podcast. I know it's been a minute. Hope everybody enjoyed their holidays. Time with the family, time to yourself, time with the dogs, all the above. So, I'm gonna do today's podcast on I had a couple of requests, so I just randomly picked one, and then it's just, we're talking about feeding and the coat and, just care of your dog as far as what you're feeding your dog, how do people get the shiny coats, how do they keep their dog from getting too fat, etc. How do they put weight on their dog? I mean, it's all types of stuff. So, a book I've been reading is recently, kind of like you read over and over again. I read it before as a kid, kind of skimmed through it, didn't take it serious, kind of got the answers I needed and moved on type thing, if that. And now that I'm, older, more mature, I go back and actually read these things. And right now, I've been looking at The Complete Game Dog, a guide to breeding and raising the American Pit Bull Terrier by Ed and Chris Farron. Alright, pretty good book. Hits everything, literally. And I happened after reading those requests on the podcast, I was like, let me see. I haven't got that far yet, but I know they talked about it, so let's go to their feed and nutrition. And I noticed one of the first things that they say in chapter 12, feeding and nutrition, it says, difference between surviving and thriving. The best nutrition in the world can't make a genetically poor specimen a better dog, but poor nutrition can prevent a good, sound, structured puppy from reaching its full potential as an adult. The difference between surviving and thriving. That's pretty much what you're looking at when you're going down the miles and all them dog foods, all different stores and all different types of brands. It's pretty much, you just break it down and keep it simple. You're looking at surviving and thriving. Alright, do you want your dog to live a little, so get to its best potential, or do you want it to just, live a little and, I don't know, just keep it simple. So, the best nutrition in the world can't make a genetically poor specimen a better dog. Alright? But poor nutrition can prevent a good, sound, structured puppy from reaching his full potential as an adult. This is why they say, feed, for the ones who just go getting puppies, feed them right. Don't just throw them on adult food, or just, some food from the corner store. Do them right. Do them right. Same thing with the pregnant ones, pregnant moms, If you feed them right, feed them the same way, how do you think the puppy's gonna turn out? So you want to better your odds. Another part I like is said, is pretty important. It said, too little protein may impair growth, performance, reproduction, and resistance to disease. A diet to high-end protein can lead to kidney damage. Okay? Kidney damage. Poor quality protein sources in a diet can lead to loose, bulky stools, or even chronic diarrhea as they pass through the dog, mostly unused. Alright? So that's another thing. You can do too much protein. Alright? So, don't think you just, let me bulk them up. I've been seeing the dog supplements kind of like, how bodybuilders have their protein shakes and stuff. There's, don't get surprised for the ones who don't know. There's stuff like that for dogs. And it's not all bad, don't get me wrong, but just like us humans, us athletes, us body trainers, wherever you do, if you're taking protein, eating protein, it is possible to have too much. It's the same thing. The same thing. All right. Now, if we're talking about a type of dog food, well, I'm gonna keep it simple because I don't like going in about raw too much, because then people want to start, claiming to feed raw, and doing that wrong can mess your dog up too. All right, so I'm gonna stick to what you buy over the counter, and that's your dry food, your dog food. Because don't get me wrong, raw isn't just, okay, I'm gonna feed my dog a piece of chicken today. You know what I mean? That's not it. You have to mix certain things. You have to do certain things. Okay, that could be a whole nother podcast. So another thing I had marked in here that I liked, it said, one negative fact is that many dry foods tend to be low in fat because high fat content reduces the shelf life of the food. This may result in harsh, dry coat. So I got questions about coats and everything. So that, that could be one of your, something you want to look at right there. All right. Again, it says one negative fact is that many dry foods tend to be too low in fat because the high fat content reduces the shelf life of the food. This may result in harsh or dry coat, which means they can only put so much fat in it or it's going to go bad, you know what I mean? And you're going to sell so many bags, obviously. So if they was to put a higher amount of fat in it, then they'll have a higher amount of expiration of bags expiring before sale. And of course they're losing money, so why would they do that? You know what I mean? So there's things you could do to kind of replace that. Now, if your dog's having that flaky coat, dry coat, rough coat, patchy coat, all right, try you could try things like well, I was right here, it says adding corn oil, chicken fat, or hog lard. All right, from 1 tablespoon daily up to 1 tablespoon per 30 pounds. All right, this is kind of going off your dog and your dog's coat and your dog's weight. All right, now something else you can do, raw egg, coconut oil. So, fish, so things like that kind of, if you, again, after trying switching the food, that doesn't work for you, then that would be my next suggestion. But me personally, I always tell people to at least throw an egg in there once a week, twice a week, even better. All right. Of course, keep your dogs warm, take them to the vet, have them checked out. All right. So, yeah, I'm just trying something different. I didn't want to do every podcast where it's just me going off personal opinion. I wanted to give, kind of an insight of, where I get some of this stuff from. All right. Now, as far as what type of dog food, again, like they said, it's not always the highest priced dog food or the highest brand up dog food that you should buy. That doesn't mean that that's the best one you can get for your dog. Don't be fooled by that. All right. So, I mean, just to name, I've heard a few, but ones that I've used in the past and ones that I've used now that have worked for me, Most recently would be the sports mix, because of course around this time I'm sure we've all heard about the recall by now, but that's also part of it. I mean, what doesn't come out that you purchase that eventually you hear about a recall in time. It's kind of part of it, but yeah, sports mix Victor. I've had a close friend using Taste of the Wild. His dog looks great. So, I mean, but at the end of the day, it also goes back to how much you're feeding your dog. How much you're feeding your dog. If you're using a measuring scoop, so you actually watching what you're feeding. All right, because you don't just fill the bowl up every time it's empty. That's not gonna work. It's not gonna work. So yeah, I don't really quite want to tell y'all what type of dog food to go buy or what to get, but there's just some things that you want to look at. And if you notice your dog food, like I said, you switch up your dog food, you're using some good dog food. It's working for your dog as far as the stool and everything. Energy level, weight looks good, but the fur still's not all the way there. Yeah, like I said, and that's my personal what I do. You know, if I've had that problem, the coconut, a little bit of coconut oil in the food, it's like a tablespoon in the food, and the dogs love it. Usually eat that before the food. And then eggs, same thing. Dogs love it. Some eat the shell, some won't. Some will argue not to give the shell, some will argue to give the shell. I've never had a problem giving the shell. My dogs love it, so why not? It comes out the same way, so it's a digestible treat. I look at it like that. All right, so yeah, that's definitely, as far as the raw, again, that would have to be another podcast, because that gets deep. You don't just throw a piece of chicken, a leg quarter at your dog and say, well, they're fed for today, and do that for a month and expect your dog to look great and act great and feel great. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And again, you can have a great dog, but if you're not feeding it right, then that dog will never see its full potential. You'll never know what that dog will be like feeling 100%, feeling his best. And that's the whole point of the animal to these dogs. You want your animal, your dog, feeling its best 100% all the time. So I do, at least. I do. Now, don't get me wrong, in the winter time, summer times, of course, that's when it changes. In the winter time, you may want to put some more weight on them. In the summertime, you may want to take some weight off. Depending where you're at, what you're doing, how your dogs are acting, or how active your dogs are, I should say. All those things come in hand. So, yeah. Now, for me, in the winter time, if my dogs aren't as active at that time, if I notice that a lot going on, we're about to get a hard winter or whatever, inside or out, it doesn't matter. I'm gonna feed them my dogs more. Feeding my dogs a little bit more, all right? A little bit more. They're still getting the same food. But they're getting a little bit more. Now, if I know we're getting a real bad winter, I will switch the food up. Because again, I want more fat. That's just me. Again, I'm not a vet. I'm not telling you what to do. But in the winter, I want more fat on my dog. If my dog's not going to be as active in the wintertime, depending on how the winter's going to hit. So, and that's worked for me. That seems to work perfect for me. And then by the time my dogs are cutting that weight off, it seems like they're looking 10 times better every time. It's like, it's like, I don't know, it's weird. It's like when they just shed all that fat, it's just like, oh, wow. And they really just, they blossom. They look at it like that. But, yeah, also keep your dogs hydrated. When you're feeding your dog, put a little bit of water in there. You don't got to drown the food. Just put a little bit. Keep your dogs hydrated. That goes a long way. That's also going to help with your coat and the dog's skin, all that. You'll be surprised for the ones who don't know. you know. And just because your dog isn't acting dehydrated doesn't mean it's not dehydrated. And at the same time, you don't want it to get to that point. So just put a little bit of water in there, just a little bit. So, all right, guys. Again, don't forget, subscribe, like, share. Let me know what you think. Don't hesitate to message, comment, email. I want to know what y'all thinking. I want to know what you want to hear about. And I feel like I'm going to start doing this more. Kind of opening these books and touching different things, you know, not spending too much time on it, you know, because this isn't my story, you know what I mean? But just touching it to let you know where I kind of get learn my history from. All right. Well, if y'all can't hear, that's my son in the background. So it's time to get back to daddy duty. So again, I appreciate everybody. And again, that's another thing. Let me know how many of y'all, you know, have, I guess you'll say first-time parents, and you're, you know, been the dogs the whole time, and you're trying to figure out how to juggle the two. You know, I'm kind of curious on that. You know, I'll go ahead and start. I'm one of them. All right. Wouldn't change it for anything, but I'm one of them. And, again, maybe another podcast. It sounds pretty interesting. Maybe get some people come in and talking. So let me know what you think. Let me know what you think. Again, appreciate all the support, all the supporters, all the messages. Appreciate it all, y'all. All right, y'all. Y'all be easy. THK.